one of the hardest things to do as a school leader, or just a leader in general, is to take things off your plate. And why is that important? Because you can't do it all. You literally cannot do it all. And often we feel like because we are in charge, that if things are going to be done well, or at least perfectly, at least we want everything perfect. So what ends up happening, we take on everything on our plates, and we work these insane hours, super early to super late, to make sure that every little thing that's being done is done perfectly well. Or if we do delegate, what we end up doing is micromanaging that person to make sure that everything's done really, really well. That's not effective. It's not effective for you and the use of your time as a leader, but even more so, it's not effective in the way you lead other people, because no one really wants to be micromanaged. Some people are okay with that, but majority of people that I've come across in my career do not want to be micromanaged. So to the question of how do you delegate effectively, let me share some thoughts with you. First off, it's all about monitoring, benchmarking all the way through completion. So I'm looking at my notes here. So I have to think about this. It's not about delegating. It's about what you do after you assign a task to someone. The first thing is, how are you, first of all, what is the task and what is the end expectation of that task? That has to be established. But then the most important thing is how you're monitoring the progress of that task. We're not talking about hovering over someone and saying, where are we with this? Where are we with that every two or 3 seconds? It's about saying, here's a task. This is the deadline for that task. You want to make sure it's packaged within a SMART goal. There's a timely end to that task. And that's also measurable. You can say, I know by the time we get here, we should be here, right? So in monitoring, it's about saying, listen, we're going to meet every 2 or 3 days or whatever the time frame is to accomplish that task. You have to monitor it. But then also has to be very clear benchmarks. By this time, this portion of this task should be completed. And I want to report back to me on where we are, what you need, and how I can better support. Okay? But at the same time, when you do all these things, you have to let the person doing the work do the work. Do the work. But now, as you're checking in with them and you're noticing maybe things are not going the way you want to, inquire. Don't take over. Inquire. This is a great thing about benchmarking and monitoring. You should not be caught surprised. You should not be like all of a sudden the deadline is tomorrow and nothing was done. But you should be able to say, I know we're moving in the direction of having this thing completed in a timely manner. That's why you have to monitor. You have to have those benchmarks. By this time, this is done. When this is done, we know this is the next thing to be done. And again, as a leader, as a manager, people should be reporting back to you the progress in what they're doing. But now, if you're not monitoring, you're not checking on what they're doing, then guess what? That is on you. I can't blame my team for not accomplishing a task that I didn't put the appropriate systems in place to make sure that they will be successful in getting that done. And finally, clear expectations. That's something that's very, very important. Clear expectations. When you're monitoring and you're seeing certain things, you're giving feedback and all those things, you want to make sure there's very, very clear expectations. Because again, if you don't set expectations, if there's not a clear understanding of what the end product should look like, or what, once this thing is accomplished, what it should look like, then again, you're allowing someone else in your minds to create that reality for themselves. Let me see here. And in closing, you want to make sure that you are evaluating the work after it's done. You're giving feedback. It should be feedback all the way through the process, but give them clear feedback at the end. Then also, hopefully, if you did your job right, you can praise them for the work. You praise them for the work. Thank you so much. You did this amazingly well. These are the things you did really well, and this is why I brought this to you, because I know you can do this really, really well. Okay, very, very important. Don't let people do work for you, and then at the end, it's like great, it was your job. No, praise them, because again, that will buy you so much mileage in future projects. All right, y'all. Be well. Have an amazing day, and I'll talk to y'all soon.